Hey guys, welcome to episode 21 of Dash and Holmesy Take Your Heart. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Holmesy. Hello.
What's going on, boys? I'm wearing the same shirt as the last episode.
Yeah, some way. That's
I
weird,
haven't changed clothes. I've been wearing the same clothes since we last recorded. It has been
3 months.
3 weeks since we recorded our last episode, and we've sweated and worked. No, I'm just kidding. We're literally recording the second episode back to back.
Yeah, exactly. Hi guys. So yeah, obviously we're recording back to back, but that's only because of the nature of our podcast and how fast this game really is, how quick this game is. But at the same time, we love Persona 5, so we kind of want to just talk a little more about it in chunks. Guys, if you didn't know, this is Dash and Holmesy Take Your Hearts. It's our tri-monthly book club inspired gaming podcast where Holmesy and I have been sitting down and talking about Persona 5 for the last couple of years, but we keep going and talking about it even more. Guys, if you like what you hear today, don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. They surely help us out. I would, like I said, the housekeeping and stuff, but this is the future, so you don't even know what you're doing yet, so wouldn't even worry about it. Holmesy, let's talk more about Persona 5 Strikers and the second and third jail today, because there is a lot to cover in terms of its structure, how they went about kind of introducing more antagonists into the game, and kind of like how it relates to the gameplay loop that we've experienced thus far through the first palace in Alice, or first jail, I should say, in Alice, and how it kind of structures the entire gameplay loop of Persona 5 Strikers. So let's talk a little bit about the second jail in contrast to the first. How did you feel about kind of arriving to Sendai after experiencing Shibuya and kind of like the opening events of the game? It was fitting that it was in Shibuya, obviously, with the Shibuya being the home of
getting started where things began. Yeah.
And now kind of moving off from Shibuya to a completely different area of Japan, a completely different region, gives you kind of like that holiday road traveling feel. Yeah. You're kind of out of your element now. You're not within the confines of Shibuya and Yongenjaya anymore. You're out there.
Sojiro's not there to make curry for us anymore.
Exactly. He's not there to hold your hand no more. But not only that, once again, we kind of go back and you're introduced more to like Zenkichi and his personality and how he's now going to guide you through Japan and everything else and tell you, hey, look, I'm assisting you with this, but you have to keep it on the low, that we're kind of working together. The only people that are going to know are us. So can you help us out? And obviously going on this holiday, planning it out, this school holiday, I guess, but then it turns into like a trip, an expedition for the Phantom Thieves, to kind of discover more jails. How did you feel about the whole kind of construct of heading on a holiday to explore Japan more, I guess?
Well, I will definitely say I appreciated the fact that we didn't spend the rest of like the whole game in the same place again.
Yep.
I think while it would have still been cool to have a new game, I'm really, really glad we're not staying in basically the same place that Persona 5 happened. If we had stayed in the same place, it would have been kind of like, this feels like the same game now, but it's just a hack and slash.
Yeah.
It definitely feels, even though obviously like you're still within the confines of each different city that you go to, because we're traveling to different places around Japan, it makes the game feel so much more open, and there's so much more exploration to do as well. And yeah, look, I mean, yeah, new place, new people, like new things to see. It makes it feel like a new game traveling to new places. And, yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like the Phantom Thieves as well at the same time. Like they've obviously grown up a bit since like the last time we met them as well. Like they're now all literally like going on a road trip together. They're out and about on the road. Don't have to answer to, or we'll say Ren, even though since that's canonically his name, which is actually what I called him in my save file. I called him the exact, yeah. We don't have to worry about him being on like probation or like good behavior and stuff and all that now. There's like all that story has been and gone. It's just, yeah, they feel like, it just feels like a group of adults now, I guess, like going out to do their job but not job, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because within the first few palaces, they start to kind of explore their friendship a little more in terms of how it kind of is right now, especially considering that you now have Makoto who's in college. Same with Haru. Yeah, Haru and Makoto are both now in college, while the rest of them are still in high school. And it really kind of has that dynamic of, oh man, there is gonna, like, we're friends right now, we're close as it is, but there's that real life aspect. There's that real life aspect of friendship and how groups kind of dissolve over a matter of time. Like people kind of go separate ways in life, and they have different interests and everything. And that's kind of like they were touching on those kind of. They were touching on that within the game. They were kind of suggesting, hey, this is how it is now, but when we kind of go our separate ways, it will eventuate. We are going to go our separate ways one day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they hadn't seen each other when we get back together at the start of this game. It had been 6 months since they'd all kind of seen each other properly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a long time.
Yeah, so they really do touch on that. It's very interesting to kind of hear that they haven't really spoken, even over text. I mean, you know, considering the internet these days, Facebook, texting is just a prominent thing. It's
just easy.
Plus, a pandemic has kind of forced that upon a lot of people. But
but
the thing is with that being a thing that I don't know whether I can relate. If I put it in that way, I don't know whether that's just a lifestyle kind of thing that's in Japan, where I know that a lot of people don't use their phones in Japan because it's kind of they have kind of like this thing over there where it's disrespectful to use your phone in public, or even just kind of like use it at all while you're kind of talking to somebody. So really, phones are kind of there as a means of communication if they need to, and I feel kind of like there's the juxtaposition of kind of like our reality versus theirs, or their kind of culture. There's a culture clash there, and it kind of pushes through in the game. And I can understand that, but it also kind of imposes a little more of a realism through the game in terms of, like I said, friendship groups and everything else, and how they kind of just dissipate over time. So I can understand how they went about that, and that's a great way to translate that through the game. So really cool. Let's talk a little bit about Zenkichi's first time within the metaverse.
Yeah. So this actually had me. It gave me another. I'll talk about my thought that I had at the end. I was having a few drinks when I was playing this part as well, and I was like, oh my god, this would be great if they did that, but it probably would never happen. But yeah, his first time in it was super weird because we've never actually, aside from obviously the Phantom Thieves being formed, we've never actually taken somebody from the public into the metaverse, have we?
Not even a police
first time.
No.
No, we've never taken, aside from the people that have obviously been pulled in through, like I said, the Phantom Thieves being formed.
Yeah.
This is the first time anybody from the public has come in and been introduced to the metaverse and actually seeing what it is. So for him to go in, think he's like having a trip or hallucinating or whatever, they come out and be like, that cat can fucking talk. That kind of stuff. Like it was really, really funny to watch. Definitely had like the whole, and this is part of why I think I like his character so much too, is like, it was just like a very comedic panic, I guess. It was just very funny, like the vibes he's giving off about what's going on. But it also, that actually makes me think of another point that I haven't written down, but I remember thinking, it seems like they're very, especially things that happen later in the game, which I think might talk about. Yeah, we will talk about that during the palaces of jails that we're going to talk about. They seem it seems like they're so much less worried about them being found out as Phantom Thieves like this time. Like, I feel like their care for talking about what they're doing out and about, and when they go into the metaverse, where they talk about things, it feels like this trip they're on, they just don't care about where they talk about things.
Do you think they're careless now?
And they're so much less concerned about like who finds out. And like obviously Zenkichi, they literally, like, he just came up confident they were the Phantom Thieves, and they were just kind of like, okay, yeah, we are, let's go. Like they just bent and went into the metaverse with him. And then later on, like, we meet, is it Ichinose? I don't know how to say her name.
Ichinose,
We'll
that's her name.
Meet her, who overheard our conversation, or overheard. I'm still a bit sus about how that happened, but yeah, she heard everything we said. And then again, we admit to being the Phantom Thieves to her as well. So it's like two people in the space of, well, what, like a few days in this game, or like maybe a week, given the world's time.
Yeah.
We've just accidentally revealed who we are to them. It's like they feel like they're a very
Do you think
there's a lack of care about them getting found out.
Do you think it's too whimsical of them to actually just be exposing themselves as phantom thieves all of a sudden?
Yeah. I mean, it's happened. Yeah, it's already happened twice in the space of like the start of the game I played. Like 3 palaces, 2 people have already found out who they are. Whereas like last time, the only people that found out were people that had to through necessity for us staying alive and, you know, catching the real culprits. Whereas this one's just like, I guess we'll tell them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of weird.
I did feel like I definitely agree with that. I felt like, geez, we're telling, we've already told 2 people within the space of the first half of this game that we're phantom thieves. What the fuck is going on? So I feel almost in a way that with that, at the end, the final moments of Persona 5, it really wasn't a secret, at least to government officials. You know who they were. Obviously, they know.
Sojiro obviously found out, and Sai Nijima found out as well. But again, people that had to find out through necessity. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, through necessity, they did find out. And once again, I feel like that's kind of where we're at the moment. The necessity of being. Exposing the identities of the phantom thieves, but then again, once again, the government thing again. Like at the beginning of this game, they throw up a mugshot of Ren when he got arrested. The time, the whole Shido incident.
Yeah.
They threw up that mugshot, and it's like, this is the leader of the phantom thieves. It's like, holy fuck, okay, you guys know, but that would have also been part of instances that happened when he was arrested the second time, not the first time. I thought to myself, okay, cool. So, yeah, because he was in juvie.
Yeah.
For the entire thing where they basically pinned the Phantom Thieves on him because he was arrested.
Someone that,
yeah. So, it would have been hard to not kind of place, put a place point on. Okay, these are the Phantom Thieves. Look at the group he's hanging around. He's always hanging around these people. It's got to be them. So, it would have been hard for them to kind of like say, okay, are you the Phantom Thieves? It's like, no, you're the Phantom Thieves. Look, you got the leader right here and everybody else is here. You're the Phantom Thieves. It's not stupid. So, it does make for an interesting point, though, that they have been kind of careless and whimsical about their status amongst the public. Obviously, not everybody in the public would know who they are, but it is one of the more confounding aspects of this narrative. And especially progressing through the game, there's a lot of stuff that happens, obviously, and I do want to touch on Okinawa, but we'll touch on Okinawa next episode in terms of because there is a sequence that happens during that was kind of like, wow, what is this? But anyway, we'll talk about that next episode. Okay, so
you asked me about. We go back to what you asked me as well. Like, Zenkichi's first time in the palace, right? Yeah, it was cool though. It was still sick to see somebody else go in and like have somebody else talk to
see it,
Morgana.
Yeah,
and actually experience it. Yeah, someone from the public has actually experienced it. Yeah, so like now there's like an actual like person, and I think that's gonna make. This is later in the game, obviously, but I think him seeing it in person, actually being able to experience what they do as their job, I think is going to make it even harder for Zenkichi to, I guess, potentially betray the Phantom Thieves later.
So your son Zenkichi, yeah?
Well, I think he's been told, we've had phone calls that you see him do later on in the game with like the police, I think it's the commissioner or someone, whoever his boss is essentially, saying like, don't get attached, you're doing your job, you do your thing, they aren't your priority, the job is your priority kind of thing. And he's like, he seems uncomfortable about it, but I feel like he's gonna I feel like he's gonna do it and then regret it and try and come back kind of thing. But who knows? We'll see later on in the game. But yeah, it's cool to see him go in. And this is the drunk thought I had. Or not drunk thought, but drinking thought I had. I wish that one day they would just, for a brief moment, take Sojiro in to the metaverse and then take him out so he could talk to Morgana. I think that'd be so sick.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Because he'd finally be able to talk to Morgana. Be like, all the time, he's like, that cat sure is loud. Be like, no, it's literally talking to us. Yeah. Now you can understand the cat.
Yeah. And that was always actually the one thing that I was confused by, actually, because I believe there is a bit of a plot hole here. Unless...
How so?
Okay, so... jumping back to Persona 5, with Akechi, when he hears Morgana talk about pancakes in reality.
Yeah, he'd been in the metaverse before.
He'd been
right?
in the metaverse.
Yep.
When was he tailing the Phantom Thieves prior so he could hear Morgana? Because I can't remember an instance where he may have been tailing the Phantom Thieves prior to that. Oh, but hold on a second. Now I just had a bit of an epiphany.
Because he's been involved in other people's deaths before, like
Madarame.
he's been in.
Madarame was the first one to mention him.
Yeah. So he'd been inside the palaces before. I kind of just like, I never really looked into it too much. I just kind of personally assumed that based on other people's mental breakdowns and stuff that Akechi was attributed to that stuff, and he'd been in there maybe at the same time, if not before the Phantom Thieves that have been in there kind of thing. So it was just like, he's been in there heaps. He obviously knows what he's doing, and he's clearly able to understand Morgana. I just kind of was like, it's a given.
Yeah,
but I never actually invested much time in it. Yeah,
there should have been a cognitive instance where Morgana was communicating with him within the metaverse to kind of have that ability to understand Morgana on the outside in reality.
Oh, because he's never actually spoken to Morgana before, you're saying.
Yeah, and then...
So he would have actually had to have seen Morgana talk to be able to understand Morgana outside.
Correct, which means he was tailing them as well. So
surely then, I guess, yeah.
Okay, well then that kind of clears things up a little bit, because I was also thinking Sainijima, who went in, could not understand Morgana in reality still. So for me, it was like,
oh yeah, true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So for me, it was like,
she's obviously in there for that room, right? The interrogation room. She's in there for that one instance, but she doesn't see Morgana. So yeah,
exactly.
True.
So for me, it was like,
so you actually have to see Morgana as a cat thief, and speak to be able to understand,
or even hear him speak, because like obviously he wouldn't have spoken to him while in, but he would have heard him have conversations with Phantom Thieves. So, oh well, there you go. Anyway, cleared something up. Speaking about strikers, though, so jumping into the second jail, what were your vibes jumping into Sendai's jail compared to Shibuya's?
Yeah, so this was Natsume's jail as well. So that was the I really liked this one because it kind of had a cool little. I like what they did, making it like you're playing a book that felt like a game in a game. It was like you're playing. They're just like making. There's almost fourth wall breaking where they're just like, this feels like we're playing a game. This is like, man, this is really funny.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
It's a fun palace. Jail. God damn it.
That's all right.
Fun jail. It's a good jail to play. Natsume again, like another. This is when I started to like have a inkling that there was going to be a pattern of characters and relating to each one kind of thing. And then the third jail again has made me think that too.
Yeah.
But in this one instead we have Inari relating to Natsume in terms of like work being stolen or plagiarism and all that kind of stuff, and him obviously being able to say like, you know, this ain't it, you learn from it kind of thing. And like I really really like that at the end of this palace we have again another relationship with the Phantom Thief and the person that they are I guess trying to change. It's also again like this one again off the first one and this one as well, it made me realize too, until later in the game at least, the first few that we had were the people involved are so much lighter in terms of like their I don't know, is conviction is the right word? Like what they're trying to do. Like Natsume's trying to convince people that they like his book, or like brainwash people to like his book. Alice is trying to just make people like her. Mariko Kyoto, when we get to that later on, is trying to swing elections to be a mayor still and stuff like that. Like while they're still not innocent because, you know, you're messing with people's heads. But like I said, I think last episode, it's nothing compared to bullying, like physically abusing school kids or stealing kids' work, or God, there's plenty more in Persona 5 that was like way heavier compared to these ones. So like there's much lighter. And Natsume's again, just like it seemed like such an innocent thing that is doing, and they clearly learn a lot from what happens, and they have that real world resolve at the end too. Like when they go up and interrupt Natsume during his press conference, and Inari is basically saying like, don't quit. You do not quit. You make a book. You write a book for you, kind of thing. It's I like this palace. This is a really really good jail. Damn it. Yeah.
No, it's so obviously prior to that you mentioned meeting Ichinose and everything else, and how she finds out that you're the Phantom Thieves, and this kind of starts to elevate some events as well, and obviously your encounters with Natsume during your visits, you know, around town, and So this is kind of like where things kind of start to expand a little and open up in terms of investigation and everything. And it's not something. It's something that we didn't touch on in the first episode. But heading around town and shopping and trying to find other stuff, you also have to you have open dialogue with NPCs around town to get clues and unlock more about like keywords and everything else. Yeah. What are you gonna? What's up? You're gonna. I think you got something. Yeah.
Yes. I just something I remember that frustrated me. That I thought was really. The mechanic is cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta like go around and investigate. But the thing I found really stupid and misleading was the arbitrary percentages you got for every person you interacted with. Like at least picking up certain things. Like I would have thought with each different interaction you had to get intel. That it would increase. So if you had 4 different pieces of intel to get, each one would bump you up 25%. And so I'd go to these different people and speak to someone, and the percentage you go up like 33%. It'd be like, okay, cool. So there's only 3 pieces of intel I have to find. So I find the second one, and it went up to 67% or something like that. And then I found another one, and then it went up to 70. And it's like, this doesn't make sense to me. This is stupid. This percentage is no indication. There should just be a 1 out of 5 instead of like this percentage. Is just an indication of what you're trying to show is like how far you progress, but like there's no indication of the weighting of your thing. It felt stupid. The percentage thing was silly because I thought I was nearly done with some of these, and then it was like 2% progress for one of them, and then like 50 for another. It was just the intel you got and the growth that you got in that little percentage counter was just, it didn't match up. It didn't make sense to me, and I never knew how far I had to go. And there was one point where I was running around trying to find intel that I couldn't get because it was tucked away around a corner or something, and then I got it, and there was still something else I had to find, but I thought I was nearly done.
Yeah.
I just didn't get that. That's the one thing in this game that I think I got really frustrated with, being like, this is stupid. This percentage means nothing. Why is it not just out of 5 or out of 4? Like,
yeah, it is. That is a little bit of it is convoluted in terms of the way it's structured. That because it definitely would have been better with a targeted system. Like you're right, it would have been like, okay, how much do I need? However, it would have also kind of spoiled it in that way. Like, how much do I need? Okay, I only need 5. I think what they were trying to do was almost hide that. They didn't want people to know, okay, it's fixed at 5 or fixed at 3. You only need to find 3 people. Because then afterwards, it kind of like, it sets a tone. There's a precipice there that afterwards, okay, there's going to be a targeted system. How many do I have to find here? And it's like, we don't want to reveal that to you. You have to find out. So I understand your argument.
I suppose it's personal preference there as well. I would much rather like a tick box list or like an out of 4.
Oh yeah, an objective list would be fantastic.
Yeah,
but I also feel kind of like that would have also, it spoils that dynamic. You know what I mean? It spoils that kind of sequence for you. So they kind of want to say, okay, we're kind of feeding it to you slowly. So just take it on board of what we're trying to give to you here. It's a slow process. Try and unlock as many clues as you can, and you'll eventually get to 100%. Not a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand where you're coming from on that too. So how did you find also like shopping around Sendai and buying items and kind of like picking apart what you needed for each jail? So like essentially you use a lot more items in this game than what you would have in Persona 5 because of the gameplay loop being completely different. How'd you find about like just picking apart items that you wanted to purchase and utilize within the jail?
Yeah, see, I kind of went back a little bit in the start as well to get enough money to buy some of these things. But the shops that were around there and realizing the value of buying some of these things and what they can do for your team, I definitely like that a lot more. I've been going around and trying to buy like different recipes for cooking and leveling that up so I can increase my bond to then get more abilities and stuff like that. I haven't really used, interestingly actually, and you know what? Now that I think about it, I have literally used 0 items this whole game in terms of consumables. All I've spent my money on is armor or like accessories for defense or endurance and weapons. Wow. And everything else has come from healing my characters with magic or SP.
Nice.
And just doing fights. So I've actually, I haven't used a single item so far. It's all been spent on long-term gear instead.
Incredible.
Aside from food counts as a consumable, but I've been using that to make cooking. But I realized I've never actually used the food I've cooked.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, fair enough.
I cook it, and then like I've never used the whatever the benefits are. I've never actually consumed it.
What were your thoughts on the cooking? Like that springs up on the second jail, or Sendai, I should say. All of a sudden, you're cooking for the Phantom Thieves. What were your thoughts on actually like having to craft items, or basically like use ingredients and collect ingredients to cook?
Yeah, I like it. It's a cool mechanic to have. It definitely brings across the workbench that we had back in our place at Sojiro's upstairs, like being able to craft like tools to use while infiltrating and all that. So I'm glad there's still something to craft, and it encourages you to explore more too.
Yep.
I will say if there wasn't a benefit for Bond experience, then I probably wouldn't be cooking too much, really. It's cool to get those little bits of dialogue sometimes, like when they talk about the food and be like, oh, this is really great, or like, this smells awful but tastes great kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, those little cutscenes are cool, but I'm glad it's not just, I'm glad it's not just crafting items, and it's also, there's a benefit to your Bond experience, because I think my Bond is like pretty high up now too. Like, I've got at least level 1 in everything except like a single one I haven't unlocked yet. So everything is like pretty high up in terms of like my progress so far. So yeah, it's helped a lot in leveling and getting through it. Yeah,
you mentioned the Bond system, obviously being something new within Persona, and how they're utilizing it in the game to kind of there's skill points and everything else that you can unlock to kind of achieve more powerful. Your arsenal becomes more powerful as you go over time. Yeah, how do you feel about like the way they've structured the whole Bond system around like, okay, I can spend this much to get this much more powerful melee move or whatever. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I personally think it works really well.
Yeah.
I've had a really good time getting everything leveled up. I am the kind of player that likes to level things up evenly though. So like the top row of everything, like I've been disciplined in saving up the right amount to actually go through and like do a more than one go kind of thing. Or like, I think there's a couple like, there's one that you get from, oh gosh, how have I forgotten her name? Headphones. Futaba, gosh, yeah. Her ability to like heal you after fights. Like that one costs, I think the first level to unlock that was like 15 bond points or something like that. And so like I've saved up for the big ones because I know they're going to be useful. And especially when your game, now that we know checkpoints don't give you back your SP in the moment, you have to load in and out. Anything I can do to replenish my SP means I can spend longer in the jail and make more progress without having to leave and come back again. So it's good. They all have a use, and like I can definitely feel the change they make when you actually buy an upgrade or like you get it, and you can actually see how much quicker you'll get through fights or how much stronger abilities are. So it's a cool system. I like it. I like that it's attached to the bonds, and they've still kind of brought that not really the confidant system, but like it's your group's bond as a whole. I think they've done a really good job of implementing it. Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow all Dash Gamer podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now back to the show.
You're back.
Let's talk a little bit about, well, so speaking of jails, let's talk a little bit about the Velvet Room. Because it's back. And
It is.
The difference being, though, there is no Igor.
Lavenza is
pretty much holding
great.
the fort. Yeah,
she's awesome. I love her character.
Yeah, so she's pretty much holding the fort at the moment, and her purpose there is of two things. One is narrative progression. Obviously, her words are actually of warning, much like she was in Persona 5 as her split personality, Caroline and Justine. More, and then you had Igor kind of guiding you towards what he considered fate in Destiny. But it was almost like when Lavenza was brought in again, she was the helping hand towards Ren. And again, she basically guides Ren through this trip, or through this game, through this story. And it's a little different in terms of how it's delivered. There was more of a sense of power with Igor, and he was trying to be a beacon of hope, even though it was misleading. There was almost like a beacon of hope, and you are that hope. With Lavenza, there's this dread, and it's almost like, hey, you are the trickster, you're the savior. But as you can see, you're locked up again. You're not free. You're once again in this prison. And there is an issue with that. So there is no hope in this. Like from Lavenza, it's almost like, man, she is not giving me a sense of any hope going forward in this game. But she's helping at least. And, you know, again, bringing back some of the old mechanics from Persona 5, the fusions, which is really cool. That is all traditional Persona, which is awesome. It's not something like, again, something that I didn't expect. I love the little comical moment where you do fuse a Persona, and when they explode from their caskets, and one of the bolts kind of flick off Lavenza's head, is like bing, and it's like, oh, that's a little comical moment.
Did I miss this cutscene?
You must have, yeah. But when you fuse, there's a couple of Easter eggs that happen during this kind of comical, which I'm going to get into in a second. A little bit of the comical side of this game.
I've been skipping them because I realized I could mash start to skip the cutscene thing. So the first time I watched it play, and I literally have just been like option because it just skips it all, and then I've just saved time.
Yeah. So and I'm going to get into that in a second in terms of comical stuff, but there's stuff like that as well. But you know, being able to bank your personas again and also retrieve them again, which is cool. But yeah, once again, Lavenza's presence really is kind of like a contrast from the original Persona 5 in terms of her narrative. How has your feelings been with your interactions with her as well?
I mean, the Velvet Room as a whole now definitely feels safer because obviously Igor isn't there. So it's like, at least I know that the person we're going in there to see is there purely to help and nothing else.
Yeah.
There was a time, but it was actually really strange because, again, like, Igor kept like all cards close to his chest when we were actually interacting with him during Persona 5. But there was a point, I think, on the island for the Fourth Palace where Lavenza interacts with us and almost tells us something proactively to be ready for, and was like, actually, I can't do that. I have to let you see this yourself. Like, but like, be ready kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's cool to see her character, at least. Like, it's cool to go to the Velvet Room and have a character feel like they actually care about your player. Instead of just being like, things are happening, better do the good or bad thing. Here's a riddle-leaf sentence. And like, Igor was a sick character, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's just cool to have like the Velvet Room have a different, more, I guess, like, welcoming vibe, or like a helpful vibe now.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, there's definitely seems that there's a lot more that's coming up, or that's going to be happening based on what Lavenza has said. Yeah.
So with working that in tandem in terms of like getting upgrades and fusing your personas and everything, have you fused any?
Yes. I've done the fusions. I've been keeping my personas up. I still have Arsene, but I need to. I don't know what to do with him because he hasn't. I've just kind of kept. I've got strong personas around, like 3 or 4 of them out of the 12 slots I have now, or 10.
Yep.
I don't remember how many it is now, but I have a few that are still weak, but I'm doing my best to keep all my affinities available for different magic types, because no matter how weak they are, something I've learned, no matter how weak the magic type in terms of your persona's level, it will still do the same amount of shield damage, I'm pretty sure, to like the bar at the top, and it will still give you a chance to all-out attack if you're using the right weakness. So even if you've got a weak persona, it makes sense to keep. If it's the only fire type magic you have, but it's a weak persona, swap to it, cast fire, swap out to another one that's stronger so you can defend yourself better, like that kind of stuff. So that's been, like, the fusion stuff's been cool. I've kind of found myself not wanting to spend my experience, though. There's that new experience thing where you can like level up your persona by just spending I think it's just called is it PP, was like literally just persona points or something like that.
Correct.
I can't remember what it was. There's a separate thing there. Like, that's a different mechanic. I spent some of it, but I'm too worried that I'm going to spend it and then waste my experience, I guess. So I'm holding on to that. I've been hoarding experience. I think I've got like 150k experience on me right now that I just haven't spent because, or maybe it was 15k, but I have a lot of experience that I just haven't spent because I don't know when the right time is to do it. So I'm kind of keeping it until I get to a point in the game where I'm like, this is really hard. I need to spend something. And then I'll dump it into like a persona that I have. But that mechanic's still really cool too. I have spent a bit on that.
Let's talk a little bit about Natsume's lock keep and his boss battle. So his resolve obviously comes from the fact that he is used as a child, basically.
family name stuff.
Correct.
Just trying to get money out of him for being part of or being the relative of a famous writer. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it's essentially used to for beneficial circumstances towards some scummy people, and he leads that life just because he needs fulfillment, which is just it's disturbing, and it's distorted, obviously. So very much very 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 terrible, like a very terrible upbringing. So once you completed the so heading into the Lockkeep again, the Lockkeep battle evolves, and not only do you confront the Lockkeeper again, and he's kind of like got the same kind of arsenal and repertoire, but he almost has evolved even further, which makes it more difficult to defeat him because he has more upon him. It's almost like this Lockkeeper is learning as you progress, especially when you get into the third one, and we'll get into the third palace in a second. You get more of an offense from him as you're kind of trying to defend yourself. And do you feel like the difficulty kind of raised a little bit more as you confronted the Lockkeeper in Sendai?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I don't know whether it was the second or third palace I'm remembering now, but there were some either immunities or things it was resistant to. Yep. I think it might actually been the third palace I'm thinking of now, not the second. But yeah, as you go, like there's definitely more abilities they have access to. Yep. I think there might have been a few more enemies that spawned as well. Like not heaps more, but I still felt like there was a lot more I guess ads around that you had to fight at the same time.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely you can feel like it's this probably goes back to what I said even last episode as well, when we were talking about like the way that they have kind of forced you to use different magic types and use different character abilities and swap your party. Like they've done a really good job of slowly increasing the skill required to play the game. And yeah, the second boss was still, tough, but not like not impossible, not difficult overall. But you had to do more than just mash square and triangle to beat him.
Yeah. The other thing was obviously with the towers that were holding the cores, the power cores there. The enemies, the mini bosses that spawn there, I found like were becoming more of a challenge there too. I was like, man, these things are HP sponges out of the wazoo. They're copping everything that I've got, and they're not going down. What the hell? So yeah, how did you feel about that kind of elevating and heightening the overall experience?
Yeah, look, it's definitely like I think I might have also I'm kind of guilty of doing this because it was still difficult for me, but I still managed to kind of not breeze through it, but I got through it at a reasonable pace.
Yeah.
Main reason being I went back to the first jail again and leveled a bit and did some of the requests.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, I don't know, I felt like at least with the first two jails, the third jail was where I kind of got like a bit more, I was like, oh, okay, I got to check myself and play a bit smarter. Because there was a fight that I got in the third jail that actually got me wiped a couple times. But yeah, look, even after leveling up and getting some extra gear and like every single jail I've gone through, I've been able to buy the best weapons and the best accessories because of the money I've saved. Even with all of that and leveling, like it was still, you can still tell that it's gotten harder as you go. So you definitely can't just like cruise through, I guess, and not pay attention to your gear or your persona leveling too. It's I like what they've done, like the pacing they've got and the level of difficulty that increments that they've put in. I think it's for me personally, I think it's a really good pace they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Jumping back a little bit to the Lockkeep again, the cutscenes that happen as like the memories. The cutscenes that happen, they are visions that are kept within inside each antagonist, without them present. Is essentially what they perceive, what they project in their mind of that instance. I gotta say, they are some of the darkest things I have seen within the game, and we've seen some dark shit within Persona 5 franchise itself. But these moments before, like the Lockkeep itself manifests, and you have these people just kind of like having that conversation. Like, for example, Natsume's is these two gentlemen at a bar, and they're kind of conspiring things to
they're
manipulate.
talking about how to use him to make money, as opposed to like they don't care about his feelings. They just want to see what they can do to make money off of him. Yeah,
it is one of they are so dark, and I was like, man, these visions that these antagonists are going to be having are just gonna keep getting worse and worse as this game keeps going. It's just very
Definitely does.
It's confronting to say the least. What were your thoughts experiencing these as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, I know I've said earlier today and even in the last step that like the first two jails at least seemed much lighter compared to Persona 5 at least, and like I think I'm also coming from that stance mainly because of the fourth jail that I'm at and how grim that one was. They are still, while I say that they are lighter in terms of the theme compared to the fourth jail and some of the palaces in Persona 5, it's still pretty grim, still pretty sad stuff. It's definitely I guess again, in comparison to Persona 5's first palace, like that one relates to physical abuse with people, whereas the first two jails in this one are all like emotional. It's about how people have felt, like how they've been treated as people, and it's like they haven't been physically abused by anybody, but they've definitely been made to feel like they're not worth anything, or like that they aren't owed anything, or like they're worthless. It's definitely not a good time. They've done a great job portraying like that experience through the cutscenes that they have as well. The new cutscenes as well look great. I'm so torn though as well in terms of that, because like, I really, really liked what they did with Persona 5 with the anime cutscenes. And I know there's a couple of those in here, but
they're not as prevalent.
They're not. There's not as many of them. I'm so torn because the smoother frame rate in this and the way they've done the cutscenes, they look really, really good. They're super cinematic, depth of field and stuff, and just the shots in general are all really cool. But I also really like the anime cutscenes that they had before. So I'm like, do I want that? Do I want this? Either way, I'm not disappointed with the way they do the cutscenes. But they still do a really good job of telling the story. Animated or not, they're still pretty sick. Yeah,
I agree with you. Definitely, and that's the other thing, and we'll get into more of that later on in the future in terms of like dialogue and everything else, and how dialogue heavy the game really is compared to Persona 5. But let's move on to... actually, before we do, let's talk a little bit about Natsume's boss battle, because this was an intriguing one. Definitely completely different from the first one, I would say. Especially some of the encounters, because first of all, he manifests into like this dragon that he, in his mind, it's like a boss of one of his video games or his anime. Go on. What
no, keep going. You reminded me of something that we're going to talk about.
And obviously a lot of what they're kind of trying to lift off is there's a lot of Dragon Ball Z. There's a lot of anime stuff, that anime tropes that happen, and they manga tropes. They reference that throughout the second jail's story, basically. But once you confront Natsume, the shadow version of him and everything, and the way he kind of pictures himself as a dark lord or something, and when he transforms into this dragon, that just, it can be one of the more confusing ways to battle an antagonist, but one of the more fun boss battles in the game, I would say. I really, really, really enjoyed the way they kind of designed this entire thing, because it really felt, for me, there was a lot of Zelda vibes in this battle. Just the aesthetic and the surroundings really kind of made it feel like very much a Zelda-esque kind of thing. But again, keeping intact with the Persona feel of the game, I really enjoyed utilizing I've forgotten his name, Yusuke in this battle, because I think that Yusuke kind of really, really like almost was perfect in a narrative form for this section of the game within the campaign to actually be the lead. But even then, his arsenal, his repertoire, his moveset was perfect in terms of battling Natsume's dragon form. So for me, it was very, very cool to kind of use that. But I also found myself like, man, I'm losing members on my party. They're dropping like flies here. What the hell? So yeah, there was a lot of that too. That a lot of reviving using items, and how'd you fare in this?
So this fight was still really, really good. You've actually pointed out something that I realized I didn't do until the third palace, which is swapping characters.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually cycled characters out until I got to I didn't change characters until I got to Mariko's.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't actually use. I should have, but instead I depended on the. This is the thing that I was wagging my finger about before as well. I really like the mechanic that they have in the game that I did make use of. The interactable, like, exploding environment things. Like, there's the ice blocks that you can stand on. Like, you can stand on them, you jump in the air, and you detonate them. Yeah. And it just pulses ice damage, which is, like, a great way to break down his shield or to stagger him when you're ready to do an all-out attack as well.
Yeah.
Got a lot of use out of that with the cars in the first one for detonating those. And then, what did Mariko have in her jail? I can't remember what they were now.
There was so much.
Oh, there was
She was
Was it chandeliers?
It was chandeliers, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well,
they
most of them do have the chandeliers, but the thing is, the chandeliers in that one were of use. There was a reason for them.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Like that, I found that like made a really, really good way to keep him kind of like staggered or at bay. That plus just like I've been really liberal with every fight that's like a boss fight with just like spamming whatever ability it is that I need to get the shield down and I essentially just try to get to all out attack as quickly as possible. And if I need to stand there and freeze time and spam ice abilities like is it Mabufu or Bufu, whatever it is, magic, like if I can spam that and freeze time and slow him down over and over again, I'll do that. Like that was pretty much like the tactic for me. It was just that I'd be getting really good at the your shirt as well. I've been timing those really well. The R2 dash. I've actually I've been exploiting that mechanic quite a lot and doing really well with it too. I find there's also an auto dodge ability in the game I've noticed as well. I don't know whether that was an ability that I'd gotten, but like sometimes the game will dodge for me. Fine. And then myself as well. Like I can actually
just planning it and timing it perfectly. A
lot of bosses. And I mean, with Natsume, for example, the attacks are kind of telegraphed a bit too, so you can kind of expect something or anticipate when it's coming in. It's a very I know it's not the type of game, but like reminds me of Dark Souls, I guess, as well. Where you got to you got to time your dodges or time your counters too. So
wow,
I've been getting better at that.
Good one. I gotta say that was a good reference. I agree with you. Man, geez, you kind of threw me through that one. It really, really is. Kind of like Dark Souls. What did you think about what did you think about Natsume's dragon form design? I think it was really cool.
Oh god, yeah. When he turned into a dragon, like a gold dragon, that looked so sick.
Yeah.
That was
very cool.
Definitely a cool boss reveal. For like the second one as well, like for that to come up as like a second fight, I was like, okay, well this already looks dope. What are you gonna possibly do for the remaining 6 palaces?
Yeah.
I was a little. We'll talk about it in a moment anyway. But I was that boss fight and then Mariko's form later on. I was kind of like, okay, well,
I like after the boss fight and the kind of like the story. Like he's still standing there in his regal form on the podium, and all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, just the cardboard falls over.
Yeah,
so they really kind of push the point that these cognitions of these bosses really kind of change in real time. So while he was that form, realistically, once he was defeated, it really was nothing but a facade. And it just like that representation of like this cardboard, it's actually showing right now, the cardboard cutout falling over. It really kind of, it's very creative in terms of just like how they present that.
Just visualizing
it.
Yeah.
There's that creation, that manifestation of like just changing the story on the fly. It almost has that. I don't know how to put it. That Back to the Future-esque kind of feel. Like he was an emperor. Now that you defeated him, he's still trying to put that facade in front of you, but that representation is just a pose. Yeah. It's really, really cool. I like that. It's a very good representation. Love it. Let's talk a little bit now about the next palace. So Sapporo, anyway. So the next one is an interesting one because it really does tie. This is the first one that really does tie into Persona 5. Persona 5's initial story because it ties in with Haru, her father, and their connection with this woman who was actually trying to run for city is the city mayor and trying to get herself reelected.
Trying to keep it. Yeah.
And she's utilizing Emma to manipulate her public to keep herself going as the mayor. How'd you feel about this narrative?
It was good. Like, I like the story and the fact that it, called back to events from Persona 5. Obviously, it brings back memories of Haru's dad passing away and, like, what happened during that palace as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, there's, like, a childhood, I guess, figure being, like, someone that they looked up to. Now, obviously, being not such a great person in terms of trying to go for mayor as well and trying to manipulate or brainwash people into voting for her as well. This was definitely where things started to take more of a heavy turn as well, because like the story with this one as well is like Mariko was running an event with like an ice sculpture involved. The workers that she was working with cut corners and ended up essentially not doing their due diligence and having an ice sculpture fall on a kid and kill them, which is insane. And like someone like a kid's death in a game is like, or like death in any game is still like, pretty grim, but like having a kid die in the game because of like a lack of safety and all that kind of stuff and people cutting corners and someone having to cover that up and feel that they were the ones that were meant to take responsibility for it. There's definitely a much heavier theme in this one too. This also, again, like every single character I'm seeing, this is where I was like, okay, there's definitely going to be this trend, and I'm anticipating it for the next 4 jails that I have to do. It's like every single character that there's 8 people in the Phantom Thieves right now, if I remember correctly, right? 8?
Yep, correct.
And there's 8 jails. So I feel like every single jail we're going to go through eventually, like there's going to be every jail and every member of the Phantom Thieves is going to step forward and make a speech to one of these people and be like, this is why what you're doing is wrong. This is what you can do right. This is what you were known for before, kind of thing. So first one was An. First one was An. Second one was Yusuke. Third one is Haru. The fourth one we're going to get into later on. But still has someone step forward as well. So I'm interested to see what the next ones are going to be and how they tie in. But this one was just like a solidified. I'm certain now the rest of them are going to have each different person tie into it, because Haru was just by family experience and relation in the past tied to this one.
So it's funny, and I missed this in the first episode, but we bring it back as well. You definitely hit the nail on the head. There is representation. What the hell are they barking at? There is representation of each Phantom Thief within each jail. But the thing is, when like with the Phantom Thieves, it's obviously one of those things where they have their resolve come through a representation of each of these antagonists, but also, like, if you remember and you recall, the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
Those are prominent here as well. And you'll start to notice that.
I think I did notice it with Mariko. Was it Mariko as well? And it talked about I remember whether it was like the keep or like the lock keeper. It was something to do with gluttony that came up in this one, I'm pretty sure. Because I mean, her character, when we see it as well, this is what I was saying before when we were talking about Natsume as well. This is like 2 different things. Mariko's shadow form design was pretty disappointing. Just like a blob. And I was like, I saw Natsume's one and I was like, bro, this dude is a golden dragon flying around a room. This is sick. And then Mariko's was just like a blob. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that's not so exciting, but okay.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I was the same. I was like, this is not what I expected. And also the jail was kind of like,
I liked it at first. The jail, like looking at it, it looked pretty cool. Like the first glimpse that we got of it, seeing like this icy,
look like Ice Kingdom.
Like, it was literally, whole Ice Kingdom just like in front of you was like pretty cool. And then the more I walked around, I was kind of like, this is sort of, this isn't as exciting as it originally was from the first like cutscene that we got when we first landed in here. So I don't know. It's one of the story was really good, but in terms of like visuals and like overall, it wasn't the most exciting palace compared to the first 2. No,
aesthetically, I think in terms of design, not just aesthetically, but in terms of the way that it was structured and the aesthetics as well, weakest palace of the game. But
the snowboarding was cool though. That was
that was awesome. I
remember that. That was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the snowboarding was awesome. Actually, now that you mentioned that, yeah. Although I do think that was more of a gimmick than anything, because essentially when you do slide down the mountain, and
to do it like 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah. When you do slide down the mountain and just like crash through all those shadows, yeah, fine. It was a gimmick. But once you reach the end of the mountain, it's like, okay, it's over. It's like, oh,
you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There's nothing at the end of the mountain that's actually here to battle me or anything. All right. No, fair enough. All right. Yeah. But yeah, so it was this moment, the third jail of the game, I probably would consider the weakest portion. Narrative wise, it really was deep in terms of like, I feel like almost the reality part of this portion of the story was more deep than getting into a jail. And it was weird because there's once again that weird contrast there, and I wasn't expecting that. And once again, you do hit the nail on the head. Her shadow design was just off the mark, I reckon.
It's pretty lackluster, yeah.
The boss fight, oh my god, what a fucking nightmare. So I died like so many times during this boss battle, but this was of my own doing because I poorly timed it and poorly structured it. Like I had no items to replenish my health.
Okay.
And if I had left the jail, I would have had to come back in and all that. I was like, no, I am not doing this.
Are you playing on hard or normal?
I was playing normal.
Okay.
So, but I still like. I just lost. But that was my fault. Like I said, it was my fault because I didn't leave the jail to... And that's another thing I forgot to bring up. Sophie is quite convenient as the shop. You know, you don't have to go out and purchase everything. Yes. She's right there in the van with you. Or they call the Phantom-mobile. So it's quite convenient to just access Sophie, purchase what you need to replenish your health and whatever.
Dive back in again.
And dive back in. But Jesus Christ, was this a pain in the ass to just defeat her? Because go on, what?
You got stuck on the boss. Did you have any trouble with the guy that had like it was like floating in like a D20 rock kind of thing? You know, the guy that was like the floating guy? Yeah. That one did my head in. I wiped that one like 3 times until I realized that it absorbed nuclear energy, and I had Makoto in my party. Yeah. And like I've been going through the whole thing and realizing like I do damage, and then Makoto would be like, time to heal this bad boy up and give it more health. But like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
That one got me messed around with so much.
I couldn't stand that boss battle. Like it shat me up the wall. Some of her offense was to me a little overpowered, to be honest. And if anything, I didn't like how she kind of manifested into this blob that, I don't know, that could manipulate the weather around her, and you know, like she
that took me a while. I didn't realize when they did that, like, because I was walking around all slow and shit, and I'm like, what is going on? And then eventually, because I think I was too focused on where she was and what she was doing, eventually I picked up on the exclamation mark on my screen. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta turn the heater on.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize that. I missed the heater for like a good 30 seconds until I realized like, oh, this isn't going away. This isn't a temporary blizzard. I have to stop this.
Yeah. Which was obviously, you know, something that they put into the main map of the game, of her jail. You know, there was blizzards around the area, and then you had to turn on the heaters at specific points of the map. But yeah, her boss battle, like how, so did you do her in, like, did you finish it in one go, or?
I did get it done first go, yeah.
Congratulations to you, mate. It was that. Fucking shit me up the wall.
It was the guy on the ball, like, floating around. After you did the Ice Mountain bit, that guy that was, like, guarding the next area, he was one that screwed me around. Like, that was one that got me, like, yeah, but I ended up also, that was, I think, my point I think we just leveled up. I think we just both upgraded at different points. It sounds like you got to the boss and did that guy somewhat well.
Yeah.
And then needed to upgrade for the fight for the big boss, whereas I hadn't upgraded in ages, I guess, and then fought him, went, fuck this, go back, heal up, level up a bunch of stuff, like spend my bond points, buy new gear, and then fought him. And then I breezed through him the next time I fought him, and then the boss was still a challenge, but I cruised through that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
They were just upgraded at different times.
oh, what a fucking pain in the ass that one was. Seriously, I like it was a good narrative, but I didn't like the jail. I didn't like the boss.
Not the favorite, yeah. I still Overall, it was probably like the least interesting jail for me.
Yeah,
personally.
same. Holmesy, this has been fun to talk about. The second and the third jail. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, God, has it been an hour?
It's been an hour. It's been an hour.
Oh, I'm bringing someone up before we go because I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
did
please
you
do.
fight the Snake King boss in
Oh, yeah.
Natsume's palace?
Yes, I did.
How'd you find it? How many times did you have to try and beat it? Or did you go back when you were like super over leveled? Because like I went back and beat it at level 36 and that was a challenge.
No, I think I defeated. No. So I went back when I was over leveled. Like I did the whole backtracking thing near the end of the game. I was like, I should probably revisit a few of these requests and do them before I finish up the game. So I was a little over leveled, over OP. But yeah, I did in one go. But I can understand what your concerns are. So please go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, not concerns. It was cool. Like it's just sick that they added like a special boss into the game.
Yeah.
Just like chilling there.
Yeah.
With like, and the only way you fight it is to literally walk up and hit it. Like it doesn't attack you.
Yep.
It's just there.
Yeah. There were a few of those.
Fight it.
There were a couple of those.
And the game was like, this is an extremely powerful enemy the first time I saw it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit it. And like literally as soon as they introduced it, I hit it and it just shit on my team. I was like, okay, we'll come back to this. And then from Natsume's palace all the way through. I went back to fight it after I finished the Shuzo Ubukata palace, the one that we're doing next.
Nice.
So I did that, then went back and fought it, and I got the loot from that, which is good. But yeah, it's a very cool challenge, and I'm keen to see what the next ones are because I haven't actually found any more yet. I might have maybe missed them, but yeah, the secret kind of bonus bosses I think is a really cool little mechanic to have. I like
really
that extra
is.
challenge.
I agree with you, and like there's certainly some intriguing ones. I tell you, I only got told by a friend. They were like, because they played the Japanese version a year prior, and they were like, you're going to want to go back and visit some of these palaces because there are some story elements that connect to Persona 5 that will probably shock you. And I was like, oh, okay. Crap. All right, fine. So yeah, there were some light bulb moments that went off after experiencing. So yeah, it was quite interesting. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, you're gonna love it, guys. If you didn't know, this has been Dash and Holmesy Take Your Hearts, our tri-monthly, or whatever it is, book club inspired gaming podcast, where Holmesy and I sit down and talk about Persona 5. You can follow Mr. Holmesy over at Holmesy5. You can follow myself on Twitter at Dash Gamer. Don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. That really help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. Surely helps us out. You won't want to miss the next episode. I'll tell you, we're going to get into some deep, dark shit.
It's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Holmesy, once again, always a pleasure, sir.
Always.
And until next time, please stay safe, wash your hands, and all that other stuff. Bye, guys.
Bye.
DashGamer.com